اختلفوا فمنهم من
همه میشنوی؟
Yeah, I can hear the audio really well.
Okay.
آمن ومنهم من كفر ولو كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. And when Saul went forth with the soldiers, he said, "Indeed, Allah will be testing you with a river. So whoever drinks from it is not of me, and whoever does not taste it is indeed of me, excepting one who takes from it in the hollow of his hand." But they drank from it, except a very few of them. Then when he had crossed it along with those who believed in him, they said,
سلام.
نباشی خوبه؟
خوبی؟ چه خبر؟
سلامت.
کی برمیگردی؟
بلیتم و به 4 عیده.
said, "There is no power for us today against Goliath and his soldiers." But those who were certain that they would meet Allah said,
مازیار.
الان این روی یوتیوب هم هست.
Yeah.
"How many a small company has overcome a large company by permission of Allah, and Allah is with the patient." ولما برزوا لجالوت وجنوده قالوا ربنا أفرغ
الان صدا نداره.
ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس ولو شاء الله ما اقتتل الذين من بعدهم من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات ولكن اختلفوا فمنهم من آمن ومنهم من كفر ولو شاء الله ما اقتتلوا ولكن الله يفعل ما يريد. Those messengers, some of them we caused to exceed others. Among them were those to whom Allah spoke, and He raised some of them in degree. And we gave Jesus, the son of Mary, clear proofs, and we supported him with the pure spirit. If Allah had willed, those generations succeeding them would not have fought each other after the clear proofs had come to them. But they differed, and some of them believed and some of them disbelieved. And if Allah had willed, they would not have fought each other. But Allah does what He intends.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون.
O you who have believed, spend from that which we have provided for you before there comes a day in which there is no exchange and no friendship and no intercession. And the disbelievers, they are the wrongdoers.
الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم.
Allah, there is no deity except Him, the ever-living, the sustainer of all existence. Neither drowsiness overtakes Him nor sleep. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on earth. Who is it that can intercede with Him except by His permission? He knows what is before them and what will be after them, and they encompass not a thing of His knowledge except for what He wills. His kursi extends over the heavens and the earth, and their preservation tires Him not, and He is the Most High, the Most Great.
لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم.
There shall be no compulsion in acceptance of the religion. The right course has become clear from the wrong. So whoever disbelieves in Taghut and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold with no break in it. And Allah is hearing and knowing.
الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
Allah is the ally of those who believe. He brings them out from darknesses into the light. And those who disbelieve, their allies are Taghut. They take them out of the light into darknesses. Those are the companions of the fire. They will abide eternally therein.
ألم تر إلى الذي
سلام شیخ کلاهی و همه دوستان صدامونو میشنوی؟
Assalamu alaikum.
Ramadan Kareem to everybody. It's about 7:10, so I think if everyone's okay, we should just start and hopefully people will slowly trickle in.
Inshallah, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, sure, you go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين. أما بعد, I want to begin by expressing my congratulations on the welcoming of the month of Ramadan. May this month be a month full of spiritual nourishment, blessing, of rejuvenation, of reconnection with Allah, with each other, with our loved ones, and an opportunity for us to instill good habits, to remove habits that are not becoming of us, and to engage in a preparation for the hastening of the return of the Imam of our time. May Allah hasten, inshallah, his reappearance. And I also want to thank you for this opportunity to be in congregation with you and spend the next few nights sharing just a few reflections as we welcome this auspicious month. And I'm drawing from a dua recited or attributed to Sayyid al-Sajidin alayhi salatu wasalam in Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, dua 44, that serves as a dua that welcomes the month of Ramadan. The Imam reciting this dua, teaching this dua, outlines in it a number of not only lessons of how we can best orient ourselves in this month, but also in trying to draw our attention to what exactly this month is all about. So given that we are in the first few days, I found it appropriate to share just some of the points that are being made from this dua and encourage myself and all of you to not just read the dua, but to study it. We know that our liturgical manuals, our manuals of dua, of munajat, serve not only the purpose of being in conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also as manuals of teaching, that we gain much spiritual insight and also correct behaviors and how we can engage with each other through the deeper study of these du'as. So what I'll be doing is I'll be drawing from this dua 44. There's also a dua that follows the dua 45, which again the Imam recites when bidding farewell to the month. So perhaps after the Layali al-Qadr have passed or around that time, it would be appropriate, I think, to also refer to that dua, recite it, and then study it to ensure that we have attempted to take the most advantage of this month, inshallah. So I won't be able to go through all of the passages, but I will read from the passages, provide an English translation, so you know where I am in the dua, and inshallah I'll share just a few points of commentary. So the dua begins like this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihamdihi wa ja'alana min ahlihi linakuna li ihsanihi min ash-shakirin wa liyajziyana ala dhalika jazaa al-muhsinin. So all praise is due to Allah, Allah who has guided us to this praise, hadana lihamdihi, and has made us amongst the people, وَجَعَلَنَا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ, the people, لِنَكُونَ لِإِحْسَانِهِ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. So praise to Allah that made us the people of praise, of giving praise, so that as a result of this praising Allah, we may gain two things. Number one, as a result of His beneficence, we become amongst the thankful, الشاكرين. And the second thing, that He may reward us, recompense us, على ذلك جزاء المحسنين, the reward and the recompense of the good doers. Now, these two are very basic categories, to be amongst the thankful and to be amongst the good doers. It seems incredibly simple, but it is a really a lofty status, because when we look to the Quran, we see that the status of muhsin and the status of shakir is one that is incredibly scarce. It's not a quality that is enjoyed by many people, if not most people. So the first thing is about shukr. In Surah Saba, Ayah 13, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is instructing the qawm, the people, the house of Dawood alayhi salam, to give thanks. اعملوا آل داود شكرا. O house of David, give thanks. Rather, it says اعملوا, act thankfully. So your actions should be in a way that not only they express thanks, so it's one thing to say someone has done good to you, say thank you. So that's to give thanks. So the ayah encompasses that. But it's another thing to say, I'd like you through the action that you're performing to be thankful of the gift that has been given to you. That's much more than just expressing one's verbal thanks. Let me give you a simple example. If a person, let's say you're hungry, you don't have access to food, you don't have access to drink, and someone comes along and offers you food. So giving thanks occurs at two levels. Number one, you verbally say thank you for this food because you're really in need of it and you appreciate what this person has done for you. The second thing that you do, you give thanks by using the gift that has been given appropriately, which means you eat the food and that person takes pleasure in the fact that you have eaten the food, you've nourished yourself, and you'll be able to gain the energy needed to conduct your life. But there's also another case where a person may receive that food, say thank you, and completely waste it. They may throw it away. They may use it in a means that is inappropriate and unbecoming. Well, what will be the reaction in most cases of the person who has gifted that food? They'll be offended. And they will find your action to be puzzling. So here, the Quranic injunction of i'malu ala Dawud shukra, it's not just saying that, O house of David, verbalize thanks. It's saying acknowledge what it means to enact thankfulness based on the gifts that you've been given by God. That's an incredibly more complex concept than just simply saying thank you or shukran lillah or alhamdulillah. And because of that, the ayah continues by remarking, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. For few of my servants are thankful. Ash-shakur, I want to add here, kind of in brackets, truly thankful. Because if it just said it in the shakurun, qalilun min ibadi shakurun, it means few of my servants express thankfulness. Ash-shakur means few of them belong to this class of individuals that actually act appreciatively, act thankfully. So, for us, when the Imam is saying that praise belongs to you, that has placed us amongst the people of praise, that we may be, through God's beneficence, among the thankful, it's not simply saying that we may remember to say thanks to God every so often, but it means to belong to a class of people that, number one, acknowledges the blessings that God has given to them, to their families, to their community, to their society, but also they utilize those gifts and blessings according to the divine purpose. So in the example of consumption of food, it's pretty simple. There's only so many things you can do with the food. You eat it, you store it, you eat it later, or you feed something or someone else. But when God gives you good health, what is the rendering of the good health in a appreciative and thankful way? It's not as simple. If Allah gives you youth, what is the appropriate implementation of that youth, that vigor, that strength, that creativity? If Allah gives you the blessing of ingenuity, of public speaking, if Allah blesses you with a good job, with a good income, if Allah blesses you with children, healthy children, all of these things that Allah gives in the form of gifts, we are thankful by saying, Allah, thank you, we're appreciative. But what does it mean to utilize them correctly? This month, again, is a reflection that allows us to think in these terms on this register. And I have to remind myself, because we're reading from a dua, we're studying a dua, that we resist almost the muscle memory now because of certain cultural trainings or otherwise, to simply read mindlessly. I don't want to sound insulting to my expressions, our engagements with dua, but I think for some reason there is that tendency to read mindlessly. So shakirin means to try and belong to that class of people, and I think that lends some meaning and some clarity to what the Quran is saying about وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Again, in Surah Al-Dahr or Surah Al-Insan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلِ. Indeed, we have guided insan, because it's هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِّنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. So we have guided this insan to the sabil, to the path of righteousness, the path of correct practice, the path of success and felicity. إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. They have the potential to either be amongst the thankful, grateful, or ungrateful, kafur, to reject the gift that has been given, and to reject the correct application of it. That's what it means. So this is again the idea of لِنَكُونَ لِإِحْسَانِهِ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. And of course, the more we're able to implement shukr, the kind of the correct meaning of it, then Allah increases not only the gifts that He gives us, but also our capacity to use them correctly. So before learning how to run, we have to learn how to walk. We have many ambitions individually, we have many ambitions collectively of what we'd like to do to enact goodness in the world. We have to learn how to take those steps first correctly before we can be entrusted with more to run. Otherwise, you put yourself in a dangerous position, a potentially catastrophic position if you don't know kind of what you're doing. And the reason why I mention this is this also draws our attention to preparation for the return of the Imam. That is a massive responsibility that comes for those who will lend support to the Imam. They of course have to be their allegiance and their ability to contribute has to be time tested. So for this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in Surah Ibrahim, وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. And when your Lord proclaimed, a divine proclamation is to say the reality of affairs. If you are grateful, if you are thankful, لَأَزِيدَ, I shall increase for you, I shall enhance for you these blessings. وَلَإِنْ كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. If you are ungrateful, your punishments will of course be severe. My punishment will be severe. Okay, so we're aiming towards this thankfulness, and this thankfulness, of course, is we're told in tradition not only exclusive to Allah, though it belongs in reality only to Allah, but we are instructed to extend this to others too. In an account narrated from Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, the companion Ammar ad-Duhni states, I heard Imam mention this, in Allah yuhibbu kulla qalbin hazin. Allah likes every grief-stricken heart. Wa yuhibbu kulla abdin shakur. He likes every thankful servant. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى لعبد من عبيده يوم القيامة. God shall say to a servant of his on the day of judgment, أشكرت فلانا, were you thankful and appreciative of so and so? فيقول بل شكرتك. That servant will respond, no, rather I was thankful to you. I expressed my thanks, appreciation, and application to you exclusively, God. فيقول لم تشكرني إذ لم تشكره. Allah is saying that for you to have fully thanked me, correctly thanked me, it is to express that thanks and appreciation to that person who has also done good to you. ثم قال أشكركم لله أشكركم للناس. The most thankful of you in the eyes of God or to God are those who are thankful to people too. So again, this is a month of strengthening relations, to be appreciative of the services that others have lent to us and why they are deserving of our thanks. And again, the thanks is not just in a verbal sense, but also in a practical sense. Okay. This is the first passage, the dua begins. Then in the second passage, the Imam states, وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي حَبَانَا بِدِينِهِ. And praise belongs to Allah who showed us favor through His religion. وَاخْتَصَّنَا بِمِلَّتِهِ. And has singled us out for His nation, His creed. وَسَبَّلَنَا فِي سُبُلِ إِحْسَانِهِ. And has directed us towards the roads of His beneficence. لِنَسْلُكَهَا بِمَنِّهِ إِلَى رِضْوَانِهِ. So when we walk those paths, when we traverse on those paths, we may arrive at those things which are pleasing to Him, to gain the good pleasure of God. So again, very interesting way of framing what the blessing of Islam is to us. So remember we said thankfulness, to be a good doer. Now the Imam is saying, Alhamdulillah, one of the things that I'm giving praise for, and I should be thankful for, is the fact that I've been blessed with this religion, that I've been made a part of this community, and I've been shown a certain way of living, that is the Islamic way of life. And I'm doing that, my expression as Muslim, my living as Muslim, is really to try and secure the pleasure of God. And he states, حَمْدًا يَتَقَبَّلُهُ مِنَّا وَيَرْضَى بِهِ عَنَّا. A praise which He will accept from us and through which He will be pleased with us. So, what does it mean to live one's life as a Muslim in pursuit of the pleasure of God? Allah says that really what awaits you in the afterlife, that the pinnacle of your reward, the greatest of pleasures, includes, your pleasures include an afterlife that has lush gardens and all the things that are desirable to you. In Surah At-Tawbah, verse ayah 72, amongst many other places, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Allah has promised the believing men and women جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا. This is a very common theme within the Quran, that you will be given gardens with streams running in them. So a place of residence that is appealing to you. It blends nature and whatever other thing that you'd like. So think your ideal living conditions and place of residence, that will be provided to you. And you will remain therein. وَمَسَاكِنَ طَيِّبَةً فِي جَنَّاتِ عَدْنٍ. And good dwellings in the Garden of Eden. Now, so all of those they're not material, they may be material pleasures, whatever they are, those pleasures that are familiar to us, that we are promised as a result of actually, living faithfully as Muslims, all of those are good, but then Allah in this ayah says, وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. Yet the pleasure of Allah is greater than all of these things. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. Indeed, that is the great success. That is the great felicity. That is, if you want to render that success, a sense of satisfaction and happiness. So you'll have all of those things. You'll be in pursuit of all of those things in this world. But really that thing which will bring happiness to you, satisfaction to you, pleasure to you, is to secure the pleasure of God. So the parallel of that in this world, because we strive for those things, even in this world, though the attainment of them are usually short-lived. Even here, Allah is saying that what you struggle to achieve, that you imagine brings pleasure to you, all of those pale in comparison to experiencing the pleasure of God. So again, لِنَسْلُكَهَا بِمَنِّهِ إِلَى رِضْوَانِهِ. The purpose of this blessing that is Islam, that is a Muslim's life, all of that is not only to secure an afterlife or even a portion of this in this life of comfortable living, but ultimately it's to gain the pleasure of God. This can become, this reminder can be incredibly important in moments where we have tough decisions to make. Sometimes we're tested in making a decision that we are unsure whether the pleasure of God is there, but we feel, a sense of confidence that it will advance certain worldly kind of affairs. And when I say worldly, I don't mean divorce from religion. Let's say you're trying to do something good. Let's say you're trying to help someone, but you are faced with an ethical conundrum. And you get into some of those questions of, does the end justify the means sort of thing? Now, depending on what that question is, the answer would be appropriate to that. But the fundamental point is this: we are doing the things that we do in pursuit of God's pleasure. So regardless of what our actions look like, whether we are advancing something in our imagination and in our perception of good, it is the pleasure of God that dictates whether this is a good or bad thing. So sometimes we may force a situation, we may force a state of affairs to come, we may coerce certain peoples to act certain ways, to do certain things. If it is not pleasing to God, it doesn't lend itself to a person being having manifested any sort of iman or taqwa. It becomes counterproductive. So I apologize that I'm speaking in generalities. I'm happy to kind of address any questions that people may have that clarify them. But the reason why I restrict it to that level is to allow you to plug in whatever formulations you may have in your mind of what this refers to. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, person who is in pursuit of this pleasure of God, Ridwan, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 16. يَهْدِي بِهِ اللَّهُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَهُ سُبُلَ السَّلَامِ. That Allah guides with it those who follow the course of His pleasure, the ways of salam, peace. وَيُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ بِإِذْنِهِ, and He brings them out from darkness into the light by His will. وَيَهْدِيهِمْ إِلَى الصِّرَاطِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ, and guides them to a straight path. So again, the path that we traverse as Muslims in our Islam is one that locates the pleasure of God centrally. So this is the second passage. Line number 3, and inshallah I'll explain this and we can conclude for tonight. Tomorrow night and the following night, inshallah, we'll continue in study, in reflection, and in commentary of this dua 44 of Sahifat al-Sajadiyah. So line number 3, or passage number 3, states, وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي جَعَلَ مِنْ تِلْكَ السُّبُلِ شَهْرَهُ. And praise belongs to Allah, who appointed among those roads. So remember, in the last line it says that thanks belongs to Allah, وَسَبَّلَنَا فِي سُبُلِ إِحْسَانِهِ, that He showed us, He directed us to a number of different roads of His beneficence. So when we say roads in the plural, really what we're saying is all of those paths are included within the single path that is Islam. That sirat, that direction, is a united direction. But within that, there are a bunch of different practices, there are opportunities, there are circumstances that now are considered to be paths towards gaining that pleasure of God. So one of those, the Imam is saying, is this month. Shahrahu, his month. So a month that is ascribed to God. And then the Imam speaks of this month in a number of different titles. Shahra Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. Shahra Siyam, the month of fasting. وشهر الإسلام, in the month of Islam, وشهر الطهور, and the month of purity, وشهر التمحيص, the month of putting to test, وشهر القيام, the month of standing, الذي أنزل فيه القرآن, in which the Quran was revealed, هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان, a Quran that is that serves as a guidance to the people and as clear signs of guidance, and serves as the separator, the distinguisher between good and evil. So we have here Shahr Ramadan 1, Shahr al-Siyam 2, Shahr al-Islam 3, Shahr al-Tahur 4, Shahr al-Tamhiz 5, Shahr al-Qiyam, 6 different titles to describe this month as the month of Allah. So each of these is in a special way describing one of the dimensions of the month of Ramadan. So allow me very briefly, because I know we're short on time, to survey what these months draw our attention to. So the first is Shahr Ramadan, and this is the name of the month that we are most familiar with, and it's used in the Quran to describe this month. Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. So what does Ramadan mean? Many of you may have heard this before. Ramadan comes from that tripartite root of Ra, Mim, Dhad. It either is taken from the root Ramadha, which means the extreme heat of the ground caused by the rays of the sun. When it's really hot on a summer's day or in the desert, then the heat that is emitted, that call it Ramadhan. So what happens when the ground is hot? Not only it burns off, but also serves to kind of cleanse almost. Or it can come from the root Ramid. Just add a ya between the mim and the dhad. Ramid signifies the rain that falls at the end of the summer and at the beginning of autumn. It's a change of season. But again, it's the imagery of cleansing. So because of that, we have traditions that say, إِنَّمَا سُمِّيَ رَمَضَانُ Ramadan. The month of Ramadan has been named Ramadan by Allah لِأَنَّهُ تُرْمَضُ فِيهِ الذُّنُوبِ, because in this month the sins of an individual get cleansed within it. So this cleansing either can be understood through the imagery of that extreme heat, which purifies, or the rain that falls, which cleanses. So this month of Ramadan is a month that is geared towards this purification, this cleansing. So it has to be put under some sort of a strain or stress. But one of the things I just wanted to mention before I move on to the next title is, in some of the riwayat we see a certain respect that is paid to this month. That though Ramadan is just it is a time, it's a moment where a person is constantly engaging in this Ramadan, in this Ramid of cleansing. It's perpetual. But there's a respect that should be paid to this month because it is attributed to Allah and it is seen as the month of Allah. And I'll share one account from that. In a narration, it says, one of the companions narrates that there were 8 of us sitting in the presence of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, and we were speaking of the month of Ramadan. But when we were speaking, we just said Ramadan this, Ramadan that. The Imam, hearing this, stated, do not just say this Ramadan, or that Ramadan has come, or Ramadan has left. Said, for Ramadan is from amongst the names of Allah. It neither goes nor comes. Surely that which comes and goes is perishable, whereas the names of Allah are eternal. Rather, you should say the month of Ramadan. So again, Ramadan, because it has that divine attribution, we signify this month and we respect it through this qualifier of Shahr Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. So this is the first title. What Shahr Siyam? Shahr Siyam, the month of fasting. Of course, the fasting is to abstain from certain activities, but also, as we know, it's more than that. In a narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, it's narrated, he says, قال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام إذا صمت فليصم سمعك وبصرك وشعرك وجلدك وعدد أشياء غير هذا. The Imam says, whenever you're fasting, let your hearing also fast. Let your vision also fast. Let your hair also fast. Let your skin also fast. And a number of things other than these. Again, extending, etc. وقال لَيَكُونُ يَوْمُ صَوْمِكَ كَيَوْمِ فِطْرِكَ. So don't allow the day of your fast to be like the day where you're kind of breaking that fast. Fitr means just to break something. Don't let these 2 days be alike. Something different needs to happen as a result and in the process of the fact that you're fasting. And that's just not delaying the inevitable of returning to a way of life that existed pre-Ramadan. That's what the Imam is warning us about. So being cognizant of that Siyam is more than just the abstinence of eating and drinking and other activities, but it is really to be in control of oneself. So again, there are fiqhi rulings here, but also there's the behavioral side of it too. And I'll mention this hadith from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. It says that on a day the Prophet heard a woman insulting one of her workers in the home. Imra'atan tasubbu jariyatan laha wa hiya sa'imatun. And that woman, that means the owner, she was fasting. فدعا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم بطعام. She invited the Prophet for some food. I'm sorry, the Prophet then called for some food. فدعا رسول الله بطعام. The Prophet asked for some food to be brought. فطال لها. So he put it before her, said, Kuli. Eat it. The lady said, فطالت إني صائمة. I'm fasting. فقال كيف تكونين صائمة? How can you be fasting? وقد سببت جاريتك. How can you be fasting when you're insulting this worker of yours? إن الصوم ليس من الطعام والشراب. Fasting is not the abstinence from food and drink. So again, a reminder that even our behaviors impact the quality of our fast, even though from a jurisprudential perspective, we have certain, defined modes of practice, but also from a spiritual standpoint, we have to extend that. Let me just share the Shahrul Islam and we'll end for tonight. Shahrul Islam means one of three things. Either it's Shahrul Islam in the lexical sense, which means it's a month of submission. In this blessed month, a believer attempts to maximize his or her submission to Allah, to His laws, to the way of life. Shahrul Islam may also mean it is a month that is unique to the Muslim community. Other religions have the prescription of fasting, but they don't experience this month as we do. So it's unique to Muslims. Shahrul Islam can also mean that it is the month where Islam is truly manifest. It is the month that exemplifies Islam in practice and can be visibly witnessed more so than in other months because of the commitments that Muslims have towards certain practices and also a further commitment towards maximizing their Islamic lifestyles, which means though they are capable of living as Muslim more so as they do this month more so than they do in other months, because of the blessing, the mercy, and the focus that we have in this month of Ramadan, you will see what Islam can produce potentially. So this will not only paint Islam in a better light, but it will show to the believers and those who are outside the fold of Islam the potentials that Islam have. I'll inshallah build upon this idea tomorrow night as we continue reading from this dua 44 of As-Sahifat As-Sajjadiyah. I want to thank you all for your participation. Inshallah, we look forward to being in congregation tomorrow night too. Please feel free to read the dua, read ahead in the dua. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to share them. If we don't have that opportunity to do it as a group, you're welcome to reach out to me and I'd be happy to be in conversation with you. Please keep me in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Sheikh Shakolahi. If anyone from the community has any questions, we have a few minutes. And if not, we will see the Sheikh again for Saturday night as well as Sunday night. So does anyone have any questions?
I say he's not talking.
Okay. If there's no more questions, we will have Aya Azami read the dua, and then we will see each other tomorrow. Thank you, Sheikh. Once again.
انشالله. سلام علیکم. تشکر از جناب شیخ. التماس صدا داریم از دعای خیر فراموش نکنید. اللهم صل على محمد و آل محمد و عجل فرجهم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا مولاي قريب الغرباء يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء السلطان أبو الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي صاحب الزمان يا شريك القرآن يا قاطع القرآن يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك وعلى آبائك الطيبين الطاهرين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم اشف كل مریض. برای خوشنودی و سلامتی و ظهور و فرج آقا امام زمان و جمع حاضر بر محمد و آل محمد اجمعاً صلوات. اللهم صل علی محمد.
خیلی ممنون آیا ازمی.
باش میکنم.
خدا